everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is the visionary Mark Kohl. He's the founder of Frequency Caps. Frequency sources the highest quality genetics and nurtures them to their fullest potential in an acoustic garden curated to promote natural healing and positive growth. Mark's life journey is a testament to resilience and transformation. So the full bio will be at the end of this video. I'm not so good at it with reading these things, so I usually kind of make them short. But the question that I love asking all my guests is this one to get started. How would you describe who you are in this very moment? Who is Mark?
In this very moment.
Yeah.
I'm extremely grateful to be here, and thanks for making the time. And I don't see myself sometimes as really anything. I see myself maybe as a vessel, I guess. I kind of think for sure there's no box that I think outside of. I don't even think there's a box, But right now in this moment, I feel like maybe my purpose, I don't feel like it, I know my purpose is to share what I have experienced with my own mental health struggle of what works. And we are leading that, or we have a team now leading that message, if you will, of calming the mind and healing the mind through natural plant medicine with tremendous courage and authenticity. Everybody with us, including myself, I check myself every day. How authentic I am. What is my real reason behind it? So, I guess we're some sort of, I'm a pioneer in this field at this moment in time when the world needs it the most. So, yeah, pioneer, I guess.
Yes.
is who I am, or, whatever. But, there's a big change coming and we're part of it. Yep.
And it feels like that. It has been, happening for a while now. There's something different and that we can't quite explain.
We can a little bit. It's the Aquarian. It's the Aquarian age. This concept.
I have heard of it. Yeah.
Okay. I'll explain it real quick if you want.
Yes.
Okay. So as we humans have these astrological signs that are based on the cycle of the moon every 28 days, planet Earth, the solar system, and everything else also has these cycles, right? So the Earth cycle, if you really think about it, we're, in yogic science, sometimes they refer to the human body or the human being condition as a planet. Right. We have a atmosphere. It's called our aura. Right. So we're magnetic electrical beings, and the Earth is definitely one. We're standing on a ball of spinning nickel and iron, the two most conductive metals out there, and we're spinning at 25,000 miles an hour. So there's a tremendous amount of energy that powers us because our nervous system is electrical. Right. So the Earth too is affected by the galaxies, and as we travel, the solar system's traveling at 250,000 miles an hour. So we're moving, everything's moving, right? So these magnetic forces, these electrical forces of all of space and what have you, I'm not an expert in this particular area, but the general consensus is that the Earth's ages, if you will, are around 2,100 years. Right. So the Piscean age started right around the birth of Christ. Okay. So that was not a coincidence. Right. And the Piscean age is the age, it was a masculine age. Right. It was the age of control. It was the age of secrets. It was the age of competition. Right. So you just look at the past 2,000 years or so, religion, wars, masculine. Nobody ever knew what was going on. Everything was hidden, right? And we were programmed, put in a box, basically, competed against each other. They were creating a society of slaves, right? Unknowing to the, to the average person, right? The neural pathways of our brain are programmed to do this, and this, right? It's very scientific, right?
Yeah.
So now somewhere it's up for debate, but even some scholars think in the late 60s, it kind of just tapped in, but it really started shifting into what we know now as the Aquarian age. And that it started around the early 90s, and we're in the cusp of it, and we're coming into it full on, right? So the Aquarian age, and again predicted tens of, thousands and thousands of years ago, the astronomers knew this, and it's in the Bible, the awakening, all this stuff, the second coming, right? Well, and this is based in science too. I'll talk about that in a second, but the Aquarian age is feminine. The Aquarian age is collaborative, not competition. The Aquarian age is transparency. You can't, information available to everyone. You really can't hide anything anymore, right? But of course they didn't know, information available to everyone. They didn't know that well, we have the internet, right? So everybody, I like to think of every person, 8 people billion on planet Earth, as a neuron in the collective consciousness of thought, right?
Yeah.
So, so it's very apparent that this is happening. Look at how the feminine leaders are coming in, and in business systems, right? The system of transparency, of collaborating. So businesses that are Piscean are failing, right? Pushing the rock up the hill, But now we're in this age of collaboration. So a collaborative type business would be like blockchain is a perfect example. There's no central authority. Nobody's leading it. Everybody together works it, right? Uber is a Aquarian concept. Airbnb is an Aquarian concept, right? So this is the systems, and again, predicted thousands of years ago, of us coming together to heal each other as a group, as a giant tribe. We're tribal, right? Right?
Yeah.
So a lot of the science in it, real quick, is also the Earth has a resonance to it, has a frequency to it. It's called the Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz, right? So that's been steady for thousands of years, right? But now it's spiking very high. Well, quite coincidentally, the human brain in theta state is the same frequency. Theta is between 8 and 12, right? So we've always been kind of synchronous with the Earth, right? But now that these things are spiking, and they went up to like 40 or whatever, come back down 30. They've never done that before, as far as we know. They spiked during COVID.
Yeah.
Right. So our thought, is consciousness attached to this? Right. So as these spikes happen, so that shifts consciousness. Right. So as this Schumann resonance starts to rise, the awareness or the unawareness will also arise. So this is why things are changing, because every single thing all starts with thought, right? The thought runs the emotion runs the body, et cetera, right? So if we're radio antennas, the human body has 60,000 miles of wire, the nervous system, right? And it ends in our feet. And we stand on planet Earth, which is a spinning generator. So we are picking up information that they'll never be able to detect, right? When we tap in, what we're doing is we're tapping in our pineal gland, right? Which is a transducer as well. There's magnetic particles in the pineal gland. The spinal column fluid is full of magnetic crystals, right? They've discovered that there's magnetic particles all through the brain. Obviously, a thought is like a little mini lightning bolt. Your neurons do not touch, right? There has to be a neurotransmitter, which is something that transmits electricity through that, right? So they don't actually touch, right? So a thought is an electrical signal, right? So this is a big conversation, but this is why consciousness overall is changing on a scientific basis, right? So, there really wasn't, the pandemic was the real pandemic was fear.
Yeah.
It wasn't the virus. And the speed of thought, as the mystics say, there's nothing faster than the speed of thought, is what they say. But, fear spreads very, very quickly. way faster than a virus, right?
Yes, it all makes a lot of sense to me. It resonates true. The interesting thing, Mark, is that I have been asking deeper questions when it comes to nature, the nature of being, the nature, basically, what is it? This that observes this reality and sees all this, at play, which all this that abides to the law of nature. So it is very much scientific, of course, because everything, there are laws here. So my question has been always, what is that outside of nature? Is there something that could be, is there a law that doesn't abide to nature?
First of all, we are nature,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
to say, is there another nature? It's like we're observing ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Can your teeth bite themselves? Can your eyes see themselves? Can you know what I mean? So that's kind of,
Yeah.
it's like, it's the way I see it is everything is nature, right? And why we're breaking the laws of nature is because, we have free will supposedly, right? So that's the ancient concept that the universal consciousness gave us free will, right? So we took that as, with dominion over planet Earth, but we took it as domination over planet Earth, right? So that's where the ego comes in, right?
Yeah.
So the suffering, like I make this example a lot, like, say you wake up in a really bad mood or whatever, you don't know why, but you go to a yoga class. I do that, and then I jump in my ice plunge, and I come out totally different. I come out refreshed, happy, right? Well, the world didn't change. My perception of the world changed, right?
Yeah.
So suffering sometimes is a perception, right? Because the Buddhists say we create our own misery. There's more suffering in imagination than there is in reality, right? Right. So if we can all agree that we give power to our thoughts, like whatever you're thinking about, the brain is putting all the energy to that thought, right? If you're trying to solve a problem, that's why it's designed that way, right? But if you're putting all your energy to complaining, if you're putting all your energy to that person that made me angry, you're going to feed that, and you're going to amplify that, and you're going to get more of that. That's scientific too, right? Because it's like a magnifying glass. I'm taking the sunlight and I'm burning a leaf because I'm focusing all the energy on it. It's gonna catch on fire, right? So the body follows the mind, right? So then the body's, so we get in these loops, we get in these habits. So a habit is when, the neural pathways of the brain connect with the body to learn how to ride a bike or play piano. You practice that over and over and over again. Then the neural pathways become like welded, right? They're trying to figure out where to go with this task. And then they find the sweet spot. And then the more you do it, the firmer, deeper the wire becomes, right? It becomes very welded, right?
Yeah.
So the subconscious mind, the body, whatever you want to call it, now you do it unconsciously. Like when we drive our car, we're not thinking about it because we've done it so many times.
Yeah.
The subconscious does it, right? So we can talk and we're texting, whatever, right? But you're not really driving the car. It's on autopilot, right? Well, the same thing happens when we habitually worry, we habitually complain, we habitually do this, then now that's a subconscious habit, right? So the old saying, watch your thoughts, thoughts become habits, habits become your destiny, right? And that's part of it. So reality, right? Reality is a total perception of your illusionary mind, right? So, and your reality is going to go through several filters. You're going to take an information in, and your brain is going to call up past information of trauma or whatever,
Right.
that it goes through its own filter, and then it clicks in as a perception, right? So the whole thing that we're doing here is changing your perception, changing your viewpoint. Because again, the world does not change. Our perception of the world changes. So all we can do is change ourselves, right? So back to nature. It's like get out of its way. Like work with it. Like Zen Buddhism has a great thing. And I do this, like, it's like dance, when you're dancing with a partner flawlessly, you turn into one person. Nobody's thinking, you're just doing, right?
Right.
Right? You're just moving.
Yeah.
There's this rhythm, and there's this rhythm in nature. So,
Yes.
Zen Buddhism is hard to explain, but it's like dancing with nature. Move with it. Don't, like be the stick that flows down the stream. Don't be the stick that tries to float upstream. You're fighting nature,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So we want to get into this seamless thing. And just from experience, I know for sure when I get out of my own way, when I release my fears, when I release my doubts that I don't think are even mine, they just come in. And now my habit is, I'm still here. Like everything's going to be okay. There's enough money coming. I don't know. It's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Just keep moving, right? Let these things go. Oh, that thought. So our perception is affected by all of that, right? And it's created from childhood, right? Like your personality, right? Your personality is what other people are telling you who you are as a child. You're fat, you're dumb, you're a princess, you're beautiful. So you start to create this personality based on data, information from people that are telling you who you are, right? You're like 4. They don't know who you are, and they certainly don't know who they are. And then you wear this mask, and you start running this story in the default mode network of who you think you are, right? So the ego's very, very sneaky, right? Very sneaky. So that story that you think is your core identity that runs 1,000 times a day or whatever it is, unconsciously, the ego wants to look for ways to validate it, right? So years ago, the reason I started this whole business when I was, I used to be in the film business, and I was, directing a lot, and, had this thing. Well, my story was I was a hotshot director, right? I didn't know this. So I was trying to validate it. That's why I was trying to work so much. But then when I started having alcohol problems, my new story that I didn't realize till a decade later was I was a washed up, middle-aged, alcoholic, drunk director, right? That was my story because that's what everybody's telling me. That's what I thought. So no matter how many AA meetings I went to, no matter how many therapy sessions I went to, no matter what I did, my story was that my ego was going to have me pick up a drink and go, aha, see, you are an alcoholic. The ego wants to be right. The ego always wants to be right. That's what wars are fought about, right? It has to be right. So, see, you are unlovable. That girl left you. See, you're a failure. See, dad was right. Mom was right. You are nothing. And that's how we live. So we're in the business of changing your story. That's what we're in the business of. Clarity. That's where it comes from. Until you change, and I mean, it's hard to break these pathways, right? Because they come from childhood, right? But you can, through certain practices, several different modalities, whatever, you can break these pathways, but then you got to stay on the new story for a while. So then you rebuild the neural pathways in the proper form that you want. Because if not, you will always have huge resistance against yourself.
Right.
That's the battle. The battle is against you, not against the outside world. It's, I mean, this is our head. It's valuable real estate. You decide what you let in. I decide what I let in. I decide. You know what I mean? If somebody makes me angry, again, a Buddhist statement, they're your master, you're their slave. They don't care that they might even know they made you angry, but who's suffering? Right? Me, right?
Yeah.
So I have a choice to let that go or to let it harm me, right?
Yes.
So it's up to us to decide what we let in and what we don't. And that takes a practice. But after you do it a while, if somebody's bitching and complaining, you don't have to listen to it, or you can hear it, but you don't have to let it enter you.
Right. Talk to me about your story with psychedelics. How did you see the change? When did you start seeing that huge change? Was it gradually happened just the first time you did it? I would love to know more about it.
Yeah, well, psychedelics in general is like, obviously you can probably tell I could speak for days on this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
From all from experience. So
Yeah.
I don't really quote other things. Okay. So, my story was, like I said earlier, I, went through a very terrible 10 years of, alcoholic behavior. I don't like labels because then we give power to whatever, I have dementia. I have dementia. Okay, well, you're going to start to be,
Yeah.
you're not helping yourself. Right. So, that's also one of the reasons I don't really go to Alcoholics Anonymous anymore, because I don't want to, I am an alcoholic and I'm powerless. No, I am not powerless. I'm very powerful. Right. In the early stages, it helped for sure. But anyway, okay. So I was in rehab 4 or 5 times. I don't even remember. So I knew I felt more than the counselors there. It never worked, right? They don't know. They just don't know. An addict, again, a label, cannot understand. I mean, a person who's never had a battle with addiction, by the way, we're all addicted to something.
Oh, yeah. That's another
Something,
truth.
right? Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation, but they can't really help someone who hasn't, right? They just read about a book. Anyway, but I went because I needed to stop. I could not stop. I was dying. I was in the hospital actually 10 years ago right now. Right now, they checked me into rehab 10 years ago in Malibu. Right now, I celebrated my birthday the other day, Saturday. And 10 years ago, my birthday was celebrated in a hospital bed. Nobody called. Nobody came by. I was alone. So anyway, I went into this rehab for the last time, but this time when I came out, I was very fortunate that I went to rehab in Southern California because I had lived in Florida and it was just a different mindset there. But anyway, I got out and I found Kundalini yoga, which is very, very, very advanced training of the mind, of the spirit, of the body. It's discipline. I can talk about that. It's very high technology prana. It mixes it all together, right? So I did that, and then I started hearing about ayahuasca. So, and that wouldn't have happened anywhere but where I was in this space and time. And so I, told my AA sponsor, I was thinking about, have you heard of this? What do you think? Because you have to run everything by your sponsor. And he said, absolutely not. You can't. No. And I went, I don't know. There's a voice in me that says I need to do this. So I pushed back against him and I did it. And it was, you cannot explain a psychedelic journey in language. There is no language. Language is man trying to define, something so we can communicate, right?
Yeah.
But when you start to tap into the universe, it comes in instantaneously. And it was coming in so powerful. I was having trouble breathing because I felt like a fire hose was dropping information into me. It was so massive of a shift. And I came out of that. It was the most joy I had ever felt in my entire life. And I came out of that mystified. Like, how can this be illegal? How can these ancient medicines, and the shaman looked at me and he said, because happy people don't buy anything.
Yeah.
And there's a bigger story than that, but that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And so I started going down the rabbit hole. I started going to lots of ceremonies. It's like scary. It's very, very scary. But what you're afraid of is yourself, right? So it all comes down to truth, right? The ayahuasca plant medicine puts the truth, right here.
Yeah.
And you cannot run from it. You cannot run from it. It will beat you up if you try to lie. Like you can't. And that's the problem. We spend our whole lives lying to ourselves. This is who I am. This is what that I did this, and we justify our bullshit like we do. We just justify it. No, stop it. Live with truth, like these things. So plant medicine shows you the truth, and it also shows you, like I've been on ceremonies where I can actually see electricity. Like it's in the air, right? We have generators sucking it out of the air. It's there. So you can see the trees communicating. Of course they communicate. You can see how nature works. You can see how we're at one with them. And we're the ones alienating ourselves, right? So, and then it ignites the brain. It's like a defrag of the brain. It's like if you get all the viruses out, and then in ayahuasca, you purge. People think they're throwing up, but no, you're purging disease. You're purging emotions. You're purging trauma. That's also a physical result of what happened. It lives in the mind and the body. So it's a total cleanse. So it was like an Etch-a-Sketch that was all scribbled up. It was like clean, or a ski slope, as they say, a fresh snowfall on a ski slope, right?
Yeah.
So, but you get a chance to reprogram the ski slope. You get a chance to make new ski paths so you have to get on that to reprogram everything. Right. But it took a long time. You learn, and then you start to get it, because you can't get it unless you experience it, right? So this Aquarian age that I was just talking about, this was part of my talk at the Psychedelic conference. There's no coincidences that psychedelic medicine has reemerged during the Aquarian age, right? Because that's the whole thing. It's a collective consciousness. It connects us. It sees how magical we are, right? And it also tells us why we're here. Viktor Frankl, the meaning of man, right? Like a person without meaning, a person without purpose is lost. And they die. So once we lose purpose, and I did, because, I can only speak, I was a father, and then my kids went to school and they were gone. So I lost purpose, what I thought I did, right? So finding truth, finding purpose in life, maybe you shouldn't be a lawyer, maybe you want to be a writer, but we're creative beings, right? Maybe we should have a podcast,
Yes,
like you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And we're in this world of creativity now, especially in the Aquarian age. And there's no coincidence that psychedelics reemerged, and then there's no coincidence that AI showed up, right?
Yes, right.
Right. So the Piscean age, back to that for a second, is the age of thinking. Piscean is the age of knowing. It's the age of experiential. We get information in these psychedelic journeys that affect all of you, every sense, every emotion, everything. And the information permeates through your entire being. You're not reading something that was written by ChatGPT, right? So, but I cannot teach something I have not experienced.
Right.
Right. So that's the whole thing about this. So once you experience these things, things start to make sense. Past life trauma, your parents, whatever, right? But it also says, we all like to play victim. Oh, I was born this way, or this and that. That's not like, okay, everybody was something. What are you going to do with that? Are you going to live your life in this misery and just loop it and loop it and loop it? Or are you going to crack it and change your story?
Right.
So there's a lot of, when I work with people, I'm a little harsh sometimes because they're just lying to themselves. And then they're not going to get better until they really look in the mirror, right? And then fix it. Like, it's not that big a deal. We're afraid of ourselves. That's why people are afraid of psychedelics. Well, I mean, that's all it is. If you're afraid of psychedelics, you're afraid of yourself.
Yeah.
What you might find, what might be in there, what lies are in there. They know what's in there, right? You know all this stuff, and it's back to your comment before. This is the age, and psychedelics do this too, it's they make you remember, right? That's why all these genius ideas come in. You know, all the Apple Computer, all those guys up there, they're ex-LSD mushroom people from the 60s. They invented, Silicon Valley was totally created on psychedelics. The iPhone was 100% created, I don't know, 100%, but the concept of it came in a psychedelic journey, right? Because you're tapping into the infinite. We have this little pea brain, right? But why struggle with this when you can tap into the infinite? Right? So this little unit of struggle is because we're not tapping in. So when we have issues or whatever, you know, the meditations, psychedelics are basically a biohack, right? Yes, you can get there naturally through the things we talked about, the Kundalini breath work, the whatever prana, you know, all these different things, but it takes a while and it's hard, right? It's hard. So I combine them both. I can get a blast off with ayahuasca or mushrooms. And by the way, psychedelics have been used by Buddhists and all indigenous cultures since the beginning of time, including Christianity. The sacrament this went blank. The Sunday sacrament of communion was originally, it wasn't wine. They've studied it. They found it. They've analyzed different things. It was tinctures and, you know, turmerics and cinnamons and psychedelic plants, mushrooms in particular. Greece was run by psychedelics. The Native Americans, you know, we use psychedelics to solve problems. The leaders would get together. Hey, we got an issue. How are we going to figure this out? The collective consciousness of the leaders in a peyote session, ceremonially, set and setting, is how they got through stuff, right? Because they're tapping into something way, way, way more intelligent. God. It's a very, very, very spiritual. There's some huge percentage of atheists that have gone into psychedelic journey that have converted to spirituality.
Right.
People that didn't believe in God really get it now, and they see God, and you meet God head on, you know, and it's very beautiful. Yeah.
So talk to me for a moment about how it works when it comes to, I know the products, the calm microdose. You have the energy microdose, so many. I love the mushroom infinity, how you played with the words there and the T at the end. I had a smile on my face because I love creativity. So do you suggest that, so they just buy the products, they just choose, how do they choose in the first place? I mean, that's kind of obvious to me now because it says you calm energy depending on what you need. And then you listen to the music. I love that you have that's on your website. Anyone can access it. That's free. So how do they go about somebody who is curious per se? Would you actually recommend somebody to be curious about this? Or only people who are dealing with deep suffering such as addiction?
So you said something earlier. You have a practice of knowledge.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Whose knowledge? So there's a difference between intellect and intelligence, right?
Yes.
So intellect is where we learn things from others. We read books, right? We learn, but we don't experience.
Yes.
We're just learning knowledge. Okay. But then there's experiential knowledge, right? And that's something I will never experience having a baby, right? So I can't really speak or know anything about that. Never. I could be a gynecologist, but I can never know, right? So this is what I'm saying about all of it, this is knowing, not knowledge. You know what I mean? And right. So that is right. And that there is no language with that. Right. So, but this is where these molecules, if you will, access different parts of our brain, to help us. The mystics have always said there's many, many rooms in the mansion that you have never been in. Right. So we know we use what, maybe 10, 20% of the front the frontal, cortex, right? And then of course the amygdala, where our nonsense runs, or the story we tell ourselves and this illusion, all that stuff. But then there's many, many, many rooms of compartments of the brain, right? So psilocybin in particular, the molecule goes into the serotonin 2A receptor system. And that receptor system, we normally operate in the 1A receptor system, which is our conscious mind, like, oh, I need to go to the grocery store, the mortgage, whatever. Okay, the 2A receptor system goes everywhere. Like it lights up everything. And it goes into compartments that they don't know, right? And they might never know. So we're accessing this infinite, and that's just the brain, right? It's just lightening up and pulling material of trauma or past lives or nobody knows, right? And they will never know. So that's one component. And then you also can open the crown. And then that's when lots of stuff drops in, right? Again, infinite, right? So, okay, with that in mind, this is statistics. Somewhere between 85 and 97% of your worries, anybody's worries, will never happen.
Right.
Okay? They won't, right? But they run us. They run us into the ground. And it's fair to say that's an illusion, right? So I make the analogy that your worries, our worries, are like windows open on the desktop of your computer. You have hundreds of these windows open. There are all these different worries, right? And what are they doing? They're clogging the computer. It won't run. It can't think. It's, and then it's draining the battery, right? But in the human brain, all of this makes us, as a cinematographer, you go from a wide lens and you zoom into life and you're looking at it through a straw. So you're missing joy. You're not paying attention. You're missing your children. You don't even know where you are. Again, based on an illusion, right? Because that's how the ego works. It wants to feed the worst case scenario, right? So what microdosing, then the really bad part is your body reacts to this. Yeah. Because your body does not know the difference between you maybe not making rent and somebody about to kill you, right? It thinks it's the same. So it's releasing adrenaline, it's releasing cortisol, it's releasing these poisonous chemicals, not for a few minutes or an hour as it would be in nature, but for decades, right? So then we get cancer, heart attacks, high blood pressure. Everything starts to fail because it can't live in the state of heightened anxiety or fight or flight for that long.
Right.
The energy has to go somewhere. I mean, a heart attack is by stress, mostly, right? What is stress? That's an emotion. The emotion kills you, right? So if 97% of your stress is not going to happen, you're killing yourself. So a lot of these mental patterns are a type of suicide, right? We kill ourselves slowly with our misery, right? Yes. So there's three, with that in mind, there's three main categories that I put psychedelics in: mushrooms. Okay, I put psilocybin mushrooms in there. Okay, we have the microdose. Okay, so the microdose is an imperceptible amount, meaning it doesn't take you on a journey. There's no visuals, nothing like that. But what it does is most psychedelics work on the ego, the sense of self, right? So part of the ego are these worries, right? So it starts to shut these windows down, right? So it works I tell people it works on a subtractive process instead of SSRI, which are, don't even get me started, benzodiazepines, all these other things which are altering your thinking, right? It removes your worry and puts you back in you, right? So that's as a little kid with no worries. Like if I said to you, who would you be if you're already there? I can feel it. But who would you be if I sucked out all your worries? Like no worry, right? You would stand up, right? And then your skin would clear up and you would have more energy and you would be more aware and you connect, right? So that's how it works. It's super inexpensive and then your body's like, wow, everything's cool. How are you doing? Great. And then and then the chemicals of joy release, and then you get oxytocin and you get these healing things, right? That's how it changes your life. So I like to tell people it's not what you feel, it's what you don't feel, right? They go, I don't feel anything. I go, how are you doing in traffic? Oh, it was fine. I go, was it? They go, it didn't bother me. I go, it's working. That's what I mean, right? Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Then there's the macro dose, which is, 5-gram hero dose, whatever, that takes you into outer space and inward space and who knows where, but that's where the real healing is, right? And that's done with a facilitator, in a safe container, set and setting, mindset, safe place, clean medicine, well-versed facilitator, intentional, right? That's the real magic. And then we have in the middle what we call the social dose. So the social dose is where you feel a little bit of it, but you're not flying, right? So it's like we have these teas. I'm actually drinking one right now.
Yeah, the tea, right? I like that.
Right. And the tea is
Like
cool
that.
because you can just sip on it. But it makes you very, very clear, and your brain's not spinning out and wandering. It's very, all these windows are shut down, so I can actually focus on you and what we're saying and be present. So it does that, and we have tea parties and no alcohol allowed, and we have all these people, and everybody's connecting deeply, not superficially. Alcohol works on anger. This works on joy, right? So it's a very, very different frequency, right? So on our website and stuff, we have these dose chocolates that are just right for social dose that taste great. And they do help addictive behaviors for sure. So if you're trying to quit drinking or smoking or anything, or you just want to have a nice time and get rid of the stress, these social doses help tremendously. So I work quite a bit with, alcoholism is off the chart, and people, especially in California, even the young kids, they're like, why would I drink? Like, why? Like, it makes me stupid. I can't think the next day. They're like, no, psychedelics, so because first of all, there's no addiction. They break addictions,
Yes.
right? Mushrooms are called anti-addictive, meaning not only are they non-addictive, they actually break addictive behaviors. Being on your phone too much, buying too much, drinking, whatever your addiction is, not paying attention. So the microdosing's great. All of it's great because after a while, now we're creating new habits. I used to wake up in panic every day just because I've done it for my whole life. Now I don't wake up in panic because it's not a habit. I wake up joyful, right? So again, it's a perception. So, okay. So what makes us stand out is very important. So in the natural mushroom space, right? And I'm not talking about synthesized stuff, I'm talking about mushrooms. Been here millions and millions of years, right? There's all kinds of theories about it, whatever. But so they are what we call biodecomposers. They're very, very much like human beings, right? Like if I have two acoustic guitars sitting next to each other and I pluck the A string on one, the other one will vibrate. That's physics, right? You're vibrating. You have 30 trillion cells in you vibrating, every single one of them. Your DNA is a bunch of guitar strings vibrating, right? When you sit next to somebody, especially you, as clean as you are spiritually, you can feel their vibration immediately,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yes.
Right? Exactly. So if you sit long enough next to that person, you will start to become that person. That's how it works eventually, right? We're adaptive. You hang out with 4 smokers, eventually you'll be the 5th, right? You hang around 4 yogis eventually, because that's how we've survived. We adapt. Look at COVID. Look how fast we adapted. And look how fast we forgot.
Yeah, right.
We adapt, humans. That's why we're still here, because we adapt. So anyway, mushrooms, they take on their environment. They take the toxins out of the air. They take the toxins out of the ground. They take all of it and they convert it. So that's their job, right? So they're sponges, So how this came about, quick story. I know we're probably going way over, but I was struggling with contamination. We've been at this a while. struggling. And anyway, I sold or I gave an ounce to a shaman, this very skilled guy. And he called me a couple days later and he said, and this is how he talked. He said, dude, he said, what? He goes, what did he say? He said, me and my buddy, we each did 6 grams of your mushrooms, and we both, in our independent journeys, saw you. And I went, what? That's like one in it. Like, how could, yeah. He goes, we both saw you. We both felt your fear. We both saw the contamination. He said, your vibration is in the mushrooms.
Yeah.
And I went, wow. But that makes sense. Because if I scream at you for an hour, it's gonna be in your body, in your head. It's gonna be, So I went, okay, I'm listening. So I built a sound chamber. We built a sound chamber underground because Mother Earth has a vibration to it, like I was saying, that's very healing. So it's an underground chamber sound, and we put in positive sounds of crystal bowls, of nature, of these frequencies, right? And if you just look at music, if you hear a country and western song, it has data in it. It's going to make you feel an emotion. If you hear rap song, it's going to make you feel a different emotion.
Yes.
Like Kundalini is based in sound currents. There's information in these sound waves, right? So that's in the medicine. So now, of course, we've never gotten any review like that at all. We get the opposite, right? So our job is to protect the essence of the medicine as it is in nature, not because they're synthesizing it, they're extracting it, they're genetically modifying it for profit, right? So there's a very big difference between the psilocybin molecule in nature and a synthesized psilocybin molecule.
Right.
Very different. You know what I mean? But a mushroom is not psilocybin only. It has many things in it that they don't really know, but it creates what they call the entourage effect. So you get all of this stuff plus the environment, right? If you take identical twin humans with the same DNA, and one kid grows up in the ghetto and one kid grows up in a loving household, they might look the same. So on science, this is their DNA, but they're going to be very, very different.
Right.
And that's what we're doing, right? So we're going as organic and as natural as Mother Earth and God intended this medicine to be here. It's here for a reason. It's been here to help us with our struggles.
Yes, how wonderful. It is a form of knowledge, isn't it? To know that I'm not what I'm perceiving. I cannot be what I experience. It doesn't matter how subtle it is. A thought, a memory, past lives, whatever it is, I cannot be what I am experiencing, I am perceiving. I have to be something else. So that something else is exactly it. That's you. But how many people know that? And how many of us really abide to that truth? And in my life has been very practical. It's just, it's more fun. You just kind of, it's not that I don't take anything, things serious. I do take everything seriously in a way, but there's a lightness to it. There's a playfulness to it. Because I know it's just something I know what I am. So it's very clear to me that this is just an experience. And that's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful to be able to have those experiences.
Well, I think what it is having no experience.
Yeah.
Because when the mind's just be, right?
Yeah.
Right? And don't chase it. And the ancients had it right. Yeah. No thought.
Yeah.
Like no thought, and just be. That's where our love comes in. That's where concepts come in, because they got a place to land, right? Because when the mind is quiet, that's called peace. And then joy comes in, right? Because it's about being still.
Yeah, right? Stillness. That's another concept that's fascinating to me. And Krishnamurti, he used to say that a lot, this spiritual teacher that's very respected. But I don't know, he was thinking all the time, but he had beautiful thoughts, right? He's always communicating using that language and that, like music. I love music, so I don't mind, having this conversation with you today. To me, it feels like music. I love those. I don't want to I don't want to push them
No,
away and be still. I want to
no.
experience those, have those thoughts.
Well, well, yeah, there's a time for all of it. Just, you don't, because there's jokes about there's jokes about like Zen Buddhists, right? A meeting of Zen Buddhists, right? They would sit
Yeah.
around and nothing. They would say nothing, do nothing, right? Because that's what it's all about, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you can't say what Zen Buddhism is about because now you're talking, right? So how do you
Right.
describe it, right? So it's kind of a joke, but just the idea is just, in my personal experience, because, I don't like to label anything, but I'm a very, 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 very creative, active,
Yeah.
filmmaker, whatever, entrepreneur from the age 20 to now. This is all I know is just creating, fighting, pushing, going, but
Yeah.
when I sit and I'm quiet and I walk in nature. I'll take, just eat a raw mushroom and I'll just take my dog for a walk, man. Listen, nothing helps your mental health more than that. Like your mind is calm. You can appreciate, you're mystified, you're
Mm,
curious. You want to look at every leaf. How is this made? You know what I mean?
mm,
So it's
mm.
like this,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's this infinite curiosity I have that drives me because I know I'll run out of time before. I mean, we'll never know it all, but nature is so insanely amazing, and our bodies, like look inside our bodies, like, and it's weird because like we get grossed out if we see our heart on a sonogram. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
and we're like, that's me.
Yeah.
Like, why am I grossed out at the magic of the body, like the blood? So we have these systems in us, the nervous system, the blood system, the, oxygen system, the whatever, all these systems. They're all independent. But they work together cohesively, right? Nature, oceans,
Oh,
forests,
yeah.
deserts, whatever. Without one bacteria, the whole thing will collapse, right?
Right. So they all depend on one another. Everything is interconnected.
As we do,
Oh, yeah.
as we do.
Yeah. We are a
So,
reflection, actually, of that.
well, exactly. We have the mind virus, right? That's really what we're
Yeah.
battling against. This virus of
Yeah.
negative thought. This virus, it's a virus. It's a virus. It's a disease.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark. Yes. Yeah. Because of belief systems, right? Yeah. I mean, we can
Correct.
say at that level, believe in something, and then we have the body kind of holding on to those energies, as you said. So I love the idea of something. It's the psychedelics is just perfect because it taps into everything. It just really cleans up the whole system or rearrange,
Yes.
per se, the
Yes.
system. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, all these ideologies are taught,
Yeah.
right? Children aren't born racist, right? We're
Yeah.
taught racism. We're taught to hate. Like, why do
Yes.
we, my grandson runs around here, loves everything. Like, he didn't, like, because nobody's telling him any different,
Right.
right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've heard of the four monkey experiment. Have you heard of, do you know the four monkey experiment?
Probably now, or maybe
I
yes.
know,
I
I
have
know,
heard.
I know we're running out of time probably. But anyway, this is kind of how humans operate, right? They put four monkeys in a cage with a step ladder and a banana at the top, right? And okay, so the first monkey runs up, he's about to grab the banana, and they douse all the monkeys with freezing cold water, right?
Wow.
So everybody suffers from this one monkey's action. Okay, they pull him out, they put a new monkey in that does nothing. The second monkey goes up, and just before, same thing. Cold water, freezes, right? So they pull him out, put a new monkey in. Now you got two new monkeys that don't know anything, right? And so the third monkey, as he goes up the step ladder, the other monkey tackles him, beats him
Mm,
up, right? And then they
mm.
pull him out, and the fourth monkey doesn't do anything because he knows what's going to happen. They pull him out. Anyway, now you got four new monkeys in there, and nobody goes up the ladder, but nobody knows why,
Right.
right? So this is how 2,000-year-old wars are going on. 3,000. I have no idea. I'm not going to say anything about it other than there was two guys mad at each other 3,000 years ago. I don't know. But we do things because we're told that's the way it is. Why don't you do that? That's the way it is. That's the way it is. So
Yes.
hatred is taught, right? I'm not going to say there's not evil people that are born. That's there, but I think most of it is thought. It is training. It is a dogma of hatred, right? Hitler convinced this tiny little country the size of Georgia to try to kill everybody in the world. And that's all through changing, right?
Right. That's one of the things that I often reflect upon is ideas, holding on to ideas, kind of becoming fixed on anything. So that's one of the things that I'm always training this mind not to hold on to anything.
It's awareness. It's
Yes.
we bring awareness. My whole life has changed now because I can see things I was always missing. Little things, little tiny things.
Right.
That person, oh my God, I didn't. And then like the staff I have now, I couldn't have hired it. No way through, Monster or any of that stuff. We found each other when we needed because we're both aware. I don't know what it is about them. And they were like, I need to talk to you. And you're like, I have no idea why. And then we drop in and 3, 4, 5 days later, we see why. Right. And they're filling in the mycelium network that we're building. Because we're building this whole thing Aquarian,
Yes,
right? I give you nutrients, you give me nutrients. Together we survive. We give more nutrients, right? We share. Everything's shared. Everything's collaborated. There's no head to cut off. It's like all collective.
Yes, I love everything about what you're doing, and I love your courage to go through the process of being open to the journeys that you've been through. I know they are not easy. I've been through many of them myself too, and I have an idea. So thank you so much, Mark. Yeah.
But those journeys, real quick, that you went through were necessary for you to be who you are today.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's going to the gym. You got to build up the mental strength to be able to pull off what you're doing. That 10 years of suffering was necessary for me to be where I'm at now. I see that everything happens for a reason. So anyway, I know we got to go.
Yes. Thank you so much again. So the website is frequencycaps.com. You'll be on the podcast links. And I want to thank you again for your beautiful presence. It's
Likewise.
Just transcendent. And that's what for some reason, that's what I look for in my conversations. So thank you so much for being you again.
Thank you. Yes. Thanks for having me.
We'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Okay.
We'll be in touch again.